So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday check-in session, a half hour of Dharma, reflection and community connections. My name's Priscilla and I'm dialing in from Sydney in Australia. If you are a new member of the community, please accept our wholehearted welcome. And if you have any questions about our practices and topics, we're all here to help. And if you're a regular, well, welcome back. It is customary in Australia to begin any meeting by acknowledging the traditional owners of our land. So in the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we walk, study, and reside, the Wodi people of the Dharma Nation. And I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I also pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all are. The check-in sessions have been developed by our Communities of Practice team and the entire community. These sessions aim to develop a reflective practice in response to changes. Guided by humanistic Buddhism, we would like to cultivate our practices and build memorable friendships. So let's start today with a short loving kindness meditation. Close your eyes, sit up straight, and take a few deep breaths. If you'd like, place your hand over your heart. And now say to yourself gently, may I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be well. Now imagine a person you care for deeply and wish them, may you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be well. Finally, feel the community around you, here, outside, everyone across the oceans, around the world, going about their lives today. And wish them all well. May we be happy. May we be peaceful. May we be well. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes. In June, we were delighted to have Venerable Miao Guang and her team share some inspirational Bodhi-like tales with us. This week, we are returning to a format called Turning Point Stories, where we invite community members to share everyday experiences, which have allowed their lives and perspectives to shift. Today, it is my real pleasure to introduce our friend and one of the youngest members in the community, Audrey Wong. Audrey is 18. She's currently studying medicine in Sydney. And today we'll be sharing her story, Constant Change. Please welcome Audrey.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. So, as she stated, my name is Audrey Lee Wong, but honestly, my name is not the one that you should be remembering today. My brother, Lachlan Wong, whom I love dearly, is the driving force behind this turning point story about constant change. So, where does this all begin? My brother was born in 2009, a happy baby, and I, for one, was very excited to have someone I could dress up in all my clothes and to hopefully follow my passions for loudly playing music, aggressively dancing, and talking to anyone who gave an ear. But it was the turning on of the light at 4 a.m. on one cold morning, next slide, My father woke me up, and I felt that there was this anxiety flowing through our house. My father carried me out of the house, knocked my head in the doorframe, as by then I was too large to fit, and then we were off driving. My brother is sick, my mom said, and they were off to take him to the hospital. I didn't understand what my parents were trying to communicate to me, as for a 5-year-old, being sick just meant being able to take the day off school and being a little bit more tired than usual. But I could tell that both of them were panicking. And this was the first big change in my life that I had not yet grasped the significance of. My brother had had a seizure as a 6-month-old newborn, and it took many years, but next slide. Eventually, he was diagnosed with Dravet syndrome, which is a very severe form of epilepsy, and it's characterized by frequent seizures and a severe developmental delay. To this day, he cannot count past 20, he cannot read, and his talking level is that of a 6 or 7-year-old despite being 14. And this made me realize that my brother was different to other people's brothers, but also this required me to be a very different type of sister and a different type of person in general, because many of these daily tasks, which became very intuitively to me, were difficult to him. And this change forced our family to adapt and to come to this realization that impermanence would become a new normal and that our lives would be characterized by constant change. And most importantly, we all had a renewed sense of gratitude and empathy for the people around us. So to the next slide. To this day, my brother still has many issues in our life, but my Buddhist grandma, who would often take us to temples, were able to introduce us to a new perspective and a new way of thinking about these changes within our lives. Through Buddhism, I've learned how life is suffering and how it is unavoidable, and that there are so many things that are out of our control, but that's what makes life so beautiful and amazing. And as you can see in this image of the Four Noble Truths, suffering characterizes so much of our life, and it's how we act towards suffering and our perspective towards the pain that must occur within our lives that we can learn to grow as human beings. So from here, through practice in prayer and also being able to talk to a lot of venerables throughout my life, I've been able to understand that change is a force that we need to accept rather than reject. And this allows you to gain a lot of gratitude through daily practice. And it also helped me a lot in later stages of my life, such as, as everybody knows, in COVID-19, and also as I was trying to leave high school and enter university, which was a very turbulent time within my life. So into the last, most remarkably, Buddhism has been able to help my brother. Whenever we go to temples as a family, he is very still and quiet, and he always makes sure to, pray. And this is very interesting because anyone close to our family would know that my brother being silent is a very rare occurrence. But it's allowed me to understand that although both of us initially started practice by following the postures and positions of our grandmother, somehow we both understood over time for it to be a time of peace. And I think the most important aspect of my life that Buddhism has taught me is that there are multiple sides to the individual. It's a way I've been able to deal with these constant changes, is that for my brother, even though he may not be as educationally intelligent, such as he can't count or read, he is deeply self-reflective and he has a high amount of emotional intelligence. And even though sometimes he can be violent in that he can't verbally express himself, so he would do it physically, he holds a great sense of empathy and kindness within himself. And this has allowed me to understand that there is always a secondary story that people are hiding, whether it may be a suffering or a different understanding or a different life entirely. And it's given me a lot of perspective in terms of how to deal with individuals and how to always come from a place of empathy and respect. So in terms of the two questions, for discussion today. Number one, when have you found out about another story of someone's life that was beneath the surface, and how did this make you feel? And the second one is, how has your understanding of spiritual practice changed over time? Thank you so much. And now I'll hand it back to Priscilla.
Thank you so much, Audrey. Such a beautiful, reflective and wise story for us all to contemplate today. So now we'll be placed in groups of 3 to 4 to share and discuss. In the discussion, we recommend you spend some time getting to know each other and then discussing our questions. There will be some new Zoom notifications to guide you, but feel free to let the flow of your discussions guide you as well. Our sessions are guided by metta, which is unconditional love and kindness for all sentient beings. Let's use these breakout sessions to express and receive loving kindness to and from one another. Take time to pause, to share, and to listen. We'll also ask you to share some of your findings with a larger group at the end of the breakout discussion. But for now, let's go to those rooms for some rich and nourishing chats. We'll see you all back in 15 minutes. Audrey is there?
Yeah. Is everyone here? Is everyone back? Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for all having such eye-opening discussions. And I would really like to see what you guys reflected upon. So just type what you guys talked about in the chat. And so in terms of what we discussed in my personal breakout room, which was with Faith, Lara, and Li Peng, was we talked about how people sharing their secondary stories is a very humbling experience, and it really keeps you grounded in the sense that you never really know what somebody's properly going through. And it also led us to talk a lot about vulnerability and how there's a great strength and also an emotional bond of trust that needs to be formed when one shares their vulnerability. Additionally, in our discussions of spirituality, we talked about how they directly related to our lived experience, and everybody,
hey,
my
Lachlan.
brother, the star of the show for today.
Hey, Lachlan.
So fun. Okay. But yeah, and we talked about how
Hi, the famous.
whereas spirituality seems to be very far removed from our spiritual experience, is that it actually can play a very integral part of it. So yeah. So Priscilla said, we spoke about deep listening, the privilege of being allowed into someone else's space, and opening of hearts of both the speaker and listener. And I think that's a really important aspect in the sense that the bond of trust, as we talked about, needed to be formed, and how it's something to really be grateful for when somebody is willing to impart something that's going on in their lives, and something that they wouldn't normally talk about, or that kind of changes your entire perspective of them.
Keep writing in the chat box, everyone. So we'd love to hear more comments on that beautiful story from today. Okay. So we really hope the check-in today was helpful to you all, and that you experienced the unconditional love and kindness of this community. For anyone who might be experiencing a greater need than what today could meet, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us at the email above. And you can also reach out to the professional organisations on the screen. Next week, Venerable Joey will be returning to the chair. So she's just touched down from her overseas trip. So the topic will be a surprise for us all. And we are calling for turning point stories for the second half of the year. So if you, like Audrey, thank you very much, Audrey, are feeling brave to share your stories and reflections with the community, please message us in the chat box or inform us by email. As we check out today, let's recite the dedication of merits together to send love and compassion to whoever is in need.
Let us now dedicate the goodness of what you have done to all living beings. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our gratitude and humility give rise to great vows.
So thank you so much, Audrey, for your time and generous sharing with us today. Thank you, Joe, for being our IT master behind the scenes. And thank you, everyone, for joining us again. So now we'll have our usual plenary session. So please stay around if you have time. Otherwise, we'll see you all again next Sunday at 11 a.m.